For caregivers of people with BPD, a complex and quiet grief. Caring for a loved one with BPD, especially as a parent of a young adult, comes with an invisible weight. It's the feeling of being trapped between your deep desire to help them and your growing exhaustion. It's the resentment that builds when you find yourself in a caretaker role you never asked for, one that seems never ending, no matter how old your child becomes. There's also a specific type of emotional labor that comes from being the anchor to someone who is terrified of being alone. You may feel like you can't take a breath, can't shut a door, or even have your own thoughts without simply feeling guilty. Sometimes something as simple as saying, I need you to leave my room now. This is a private space for me, and I need to set boundaries for my own well-being. We can revisit this conversation later when we're both calmer. This can feel impossible, even dangerous, because you know how fragile their emotional state is. But your space is sacred and it's okay to protect it. In some cases, you may even have to lock the door for your own safety, not out of punishment, but out of self-preservation. If the home becomes unsafe and your loved one becomes significantly dysregulated, it may escalate to a point where calling the police or having them placed on a psychiatric hold is the only viable option. As heartbreaking as this is, sometimes the hospital is literally the only place, and it has so many flaws, but it might just be the only option. You may also feel the crushing pressure of carrying their future on their shoulders. What if it never stops? What if he doesn't make it? What if he ends up alone? What if he never heals? But as deeply invested as you are in your child's life, there's a painful truth that caregivers must reckon with. You are not responsible for every outcome. You can offer love, structure, support, and opportunity, but their choices ultimately belong to them. Letting go of that illusion of control doesn't mean giving up. It just means stepping into reality. But still, it doesn't stop the grief. There's a unique mourning process that comes with parenting a child with severe mental illness. You may grieve the life you imagined for them, the peace you wish they had, or the relationship you thought you'd share. And it's okay to acknowledge that grief without shame. One helpful approach for parents is setting compassionate boundaries. For example, financial boundaries, giving a set amount of money for essentials, but not controlling how they spend it. Privacy boundaries, clearly communicating when space is needed. Sometimes I'll be locking my door, not to shut you out, but to protect my own space and peace. I still love you, and we can talk later when things are calmer. Being a caregiver doesn't mean being a martyr. You're allowed to feel overwhelmed, hurt, frustrated, and angry. You're allowed to need rest, to have your own therapist, to protect your peace, and to build your own life, even if your child is still struggling. And no matter how complicated it gets, your effort, your compassion, and your love will always matter.